He stood at the edge of the ballroom in his custom Tom Ford tuxedo, one hand buried in his pocket, the other cradling a glass of Macallan 25. Christian Grey, 34, billionaire CEO of Grey Enterprises, the most powerful man in New York, and the possessive husband who had claimed Avery Sinclair 3 years ago like a predator claiming territory. She was his. Every breath, every heartbeat, every inch of that perfect body belonged to him alone. Touch her and die. That rule had never been spoken aloud. It didn't need to be. The world already knew. Avery moved through the crowd like a flame in silk, the emerald gown he had personally chosen hugging her curves before spilling into a train that whispered over the marble floor. 3 months shooting on location in Vancouver had kept her away from his penthouse, from his bed, from the red room where he punished and worshipped her in equal measure. She had come straight from the airport tonight because she missed him, because she was his good girl, because even after 3 years, the sight of Christian Grey still made her knees weak and her pulse race. She hated these galas, hated the old money vipers who smiled while sharpening their knives. She had planned to stay by his side all night, tucked under the shelter of his arm, but he had been pulled away by investors. So she drifted toward the garden doors for air, and that was when they found her. Stella Alonso, Christian's childhood friend who had just returned from Italy after years abroad, and Juliet Rossi, Avery's longtime industry enemy, who made a hobby of buying hate trends against her. Juliet's red lips curled. Funny, I didn't realize they were letting just anyone into engagement parties these days. Stella said nothing at first, only watched Avery with cool detachment, the way a queen studies a peasant. Juliet kept going. Some people really don't know when to bow out gracefully, especially when the real fiancé is back in the picture. Avery's fingers tightened around her clutch. She had learned long ago to keep her head high, to smile sweetly while the knives slid in. She turned to leave. Then Juliet said it, loud enough for the garden to hear. Some people come from trash families. Didn't her father ruin an entire construction site? How many workers lost everything because of him? No wonder the daughter turned out cheap. Avery spun. The slap cracked across Juliet's cheek before anyone could blink. A second one followed. Juliet shrieked and lunged. Hair was pulled, earrings torn, silk ripped. Somewhere in the chaos, Stella tried to separate them and only got dragged in. By the time Christian's tall, lethal frame cut through the crowd, 3 women were a whirlwind of claws and fury on the terrace that he moved like a storm, one arm banding around Avery's waist, yanking her out of the fight with possessive force. She was a mess, hair wild, lipstick smeared, the strap of her dress torn. Across from her, Stella looked barely ruffled. Avery glared up at him through tangled strands. "You're taking her side." His jaw was granite, eyes thunderstorm gray. He said nothing. She ripped the 10-carat diamond off her finger and hurled it at his chest. It bounced off his tuxedo and rolled across the marble. "I'm done with you, Christian Grey." Then she ran. High heels clicking, tears burning. She fled into the night and dove into the first cab she saw. Only inside did she let herself shatter. She was his little wife, his baby girl, his everything. Yet the second his precious childhood friend was involved, he froze. Her phone vibrated. "Christian, Christian, Christian." She answered on a sob. "The penthouse in South Bay is in my name. You have 1 week to get out." She hung up, blocked every number, every app, every trace of him. It was over. She checked into the Four Seasons under a fake name, showered until her skin was raw, and curled into a ball on the hotel bed. She, Avery Sinclair, the kept woman who had never once caused trouble, had just beaten up his white moonlight and dumped the most powerful man in Manhattan. First time for everything. 3 years ago, she had been nobody. 19, drowning in debt after her father's construction accident crippled him and bankrupted the family. Tricked into a slave contract by a shady agency, forced into dinners with directors and investors. That night, in a private room thick with cigar smoke and greed, she had spotted him, Christian Grey, the only man who looked bored by the entire scene. Desperate, she had followed him into the hallway. "Please," she had whispered, trembling. Can I come with you?" He had looked down at her, 6'3" of dark, dangerous beauty. "And why would I take you? You're the most handsome man in there," she had blurted. Then softer, "And you look like the only one who isn't a monster." He had laughed low and dark. "Then you're looking at the wrong man, baby girl." But when a drunken director backhanded her and tried to rip her dress, she had smashed a crystal tumbler and buried the shards in his thigh. Blood everywhere. She had thought prison was certain. Then the door opened. Christian stood silhouetted against the hallway light. "I believe the lady said no." One sentence, and the room froze. She had flown into his arms, shaking so hard she couldn't stand. He carried her out like she weighed nothing, took her to his South Bay penthouse overlooking the entire city, and changed her life forever. That first night she had stood in his marble bathroom wrapped in a towel, terrified. He leaned against the sofa, white shirt open at the throat, revealing the edge of the tattoo she would later trace with her tongue 1,000 times. She dropped the towel. He picked it up, draped it back over her shoulders, voice velvet and steel. "Age is just a number, little wife, but eagerness like that will get you ruined." I don't know how this works," she had stammered. His knuckles brushed her lower lip. "You'll learn. And you'll learn on your knees." He kissed her until her head spun, then tucked her into his bed alone. An hour later he slid in behind her, arm locking around her waist like a cuff. "Sleep, baby girl. You're mine now." From that night on, the world bent to his will for her. Slave contracts dissolved. Predators vanished from the industry. Resources poured in. She climbed from forgotten extra to coveted leading lady. Her parents' debts disappeared. They opened a little bookstore back home. Everything was perfect. Except she had fallen stupidly, hopelessly in love with her possessive husband, and he had never once said the words. Now, 3 days after the gala, her name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Hashtag Avery Sinclair beats Juliet Rossi. Hashtag Avery Sinclair bullies co-star. Hashtag get Avery out of the industry. The video was expertly cropped. Only her slaps, never the provocation. Comments called her vicious, a climber, a mistress finally discarded now that the real fiancé was back. She posted a long statement explaining everything, the harassment, the threats against her family, the fact that she had never been a replacement, never a side piece, and that she was single now. Then she turned off her phone and cried herself to sleep. When she woke, the world had flipped again. Christian Grey, verified account, Billionaire CEO, had entered the chat like a hurricane. He dragged every troll by their username, posted receipts, surveillance footage, chat records. To the user claiming she seduced directors, she stabbed one to escape rape. Want the medical report next? To the one calling her a mistress, she's been mine for 3 years. Touch her and die. That includes with your keyboard. To the rumor she was a replacement for Stella, I don't do substitutes. I do forever. Learn the difference. Then the comment that stopped her heart, Christian Grey replying to her breakup post, "Plenty of time to write essays, baby girl. 0 time to take me off your block list?" Bold. She was still staring when the hotel door rattled with 3 sharp knocks. She peered through the peephole. Christian filled the frame, jaw tight, eyes burning. She opened the door and the tears came before she could stop them. He stepped inside, cupped her wet cheeks with both hands. "I haven't even started yelling, and you're already crying? That's cheating, little wife." He wiped her tears with his thumbs, voice dropping to that lethal purr. "She's mine. Every tear, every scream, every orgasm. Mine to protect, mine to punish, mine to love." That he pulled her into the suite, kicked the door shut, and backed her against the nearest wall. "Let's discuss this pulling sides bullshit. You yanked me away while Stella looked perfect, because Juliet's acrylics were 2 inches from your face, Avery. You get 1 scratch on this body and I burn the world down. You think I care about appearances when you're bleeding?" She opened her mouth, closed it. "And you didn't say anything. I chased after you, but my disobedient little wife was already in a cab. Then you blocked me everywhere and ordered me out of my own penthouse. Tell me, baby girl, who exactly was pulling sides?" She deflated. He caged her in, forearms on either side of her head. "I was in Seattle putting out a $50 million fire. The second I landed, I saw the footage. I've had security outside this hotel since the night you ran. You think I'd leave you unprotected while the internet tries to eat you alive? Her lip trembled. They said you're marrying Stella. His laugh was dark. I took you to that engagement party to see if you were ready for one of your own. I've been carrying these for months. That he pulled 2 rings from his inner pocket. Simple brushed platinum bands with a tiny hidden diamond on the inside, handmade by an old woman on the Croisette in Cannes. Unique in the world. I never wore mine in public, because you weren't ready to be claimed in front of the world. My mistake. He slid the smaller one onto her shaking finger, then held out his hand. Your turn. She slipped the matching band onto him with trembling fingers. He kissed her ring, then her mouth, slow and devastating. You're mine, Avery Sinclair. Pregnant with my heir or not, married on paper or not, you've been my wife since the night you stabbed a man to stay pure for me. Don't ever forget it. The next morning the scandal was dead. Juliet's sponsors dropped her overnight. Evidence of her running a pay-for-hate ring surfaced. The director who accused Avery of seduction was arrested for assaulting multiple actresses. Names on the list Avery had kept quietly for years. Christian had simply snapped his fingers. They walked out of the hotel hand in hand, paparazzi flashing. He didn't hide her anymore. The possessive arm around her waist, the way he angled his body to shield her from lenses, screamed one thing: mine. Back in the South Bay penthouse that had never actually been emptied, he had played her. Every suit, every watch, every bottle of his cologne had been moved out just to watch her panic. She found him in the walk-in closet, smirking. You have until tonight to move back in, Mr. Gray. Or what, Mrs. Gray? Or I'll burn every Tom Ford suit you own. He laughed, pinned her against the island, and kissed the attitude right out of her. That night in the Red Room, he reminded her exactly who she belonged to. Silk ropes around her wrists, his belt snapping against skin, her screams echoing off the walls as he took her apart and put her back together again. Good girl, he growled against her throat. Mine to ruin. Mine to keep. Mine forever. 6 months later, she won Best Actress at the biggest award show of the year. The presenter walked on stage in a midnight suit that cost more than most people's houses. Christian Grey handed her the trophy himself, eyes blazing with pride and something deeper. Congratulations, Mrs. Grey. The audience lost their minds. She took the award with shaking hands, looked straight at him through the spotlight, and smiled. He mouthed 2 words only she could read. Come home. Later, when another actor instinctively reached to help her down the stairs, Christian's glare made the man jerk his hand back like he'd been burned. The internet exploded with gifs captioned "Touch her" and "Die confirmed." They were already married. Had been for weeks. She woke up one morning to find a new ring on her finger, 30 carats, internally flawless, one of one, just like them. He had simply said, "Try to take it off and see what happens, baby girl." She never did. They flew to his Amalfi villa on the private jet that night, made love on the terrace overlooking the sea, his hand splayed over the still flat plane of her stomach where their air was already growing. Christian Grey, billionaire CEO, obsessive alpha male, mafia-level possessive husband, kissed his wife under the Italian stars and whispered the words he had never said before. I love you, Avery. I loved you the first night you bled for your freedom. I'll love you until the day I die. She cried. He kissed every tear away. She was his good girl, his little wife, his everything, and now the entire world knew it.